Harry's Wife, Part 102.52. He's a Damaged Man. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. We turn to page 6, and as always, I leave it to you to determine the veracity of the material while I provide you with the analysis. The article by Nikki Gostin tells us, needy Prince Harry clings to Harry's wife, royal expert claims. Prince Harry clings to Harry's wife, like a needy man, like a life raft, royal biographer Tom Bower tells, page 6 exclusively. The Duchess of Sussex satisfies all of the Duke of Sussex requirements, which he didn't get from other girlfriends. The author of Revenge, Harry's Wife, Harry and the War Between the Windsors, explains. Bower also claims that Harry, 38, is a damaged and very disturbed man as a result of childhood trauma, and Harry's wife, 41, allegedly knew just how to win him over. He is psychologically harmed, both by his mother's death and the father's treatment of his mother, and of Harry himself when he was a child, the author alleges. Prince Harry's difficult life and those of his royal relatives has been highly publicised for years. His mother, Princess Diana, Princess of Wales, is in a happy marriage to King Charles III. Long-term affair with now wife Queen Consort Camilla was well documented in the press. The former Princess of Wales's tragic death in August 1997, when Harry was just 12, also captured intense media attention. The Duke previously opened up about the trauma surrounding his childhood, accusing his father of passing down a cycle of genetic pain and suffering, words that I would suggest that had been placed in his ears by, of course, none other than his wife. And this was something he talked about on Dax Shepard's Armchair Expert podcast in 2021. Harry's wife has always claimed she knew nothing of the royal when they were set up on a date. We know that to be a lie, and only asked if he was nice. However, in Revenge, Bower alleged that the suit's alum carefully researched Harry before their first date at the Soho House's Dean Street townhouse in early June 2016. Her genius was that before she ever met him, she carefully researched him, and as an intelligent woman with lots of experience, knew exactly what buttons to press, the biographer claims to page 6. I would take issue with this description. She's not intelligent. We can see that. She's not intelligent both in terms of the way that her narcissism functions, but also simply the things that she says. She says a lot of stupid things. She does have a lot of experience, governed, of course, by her narcissism, in terms of the manner by which her narcissism has guided her to draw people in, use them, and cast them to one side. Her half-siblings, her father, the alleged first husband, the first or second husband, depending on who you ask, Trevor Engelson, now Prince Harry, the various friends, much of which, of course, Mr. Bower has documented. What happens is, she knows exactly what buttons to press, not in a conscious way, but guided by her innate narcissism. It knows, for example, that with Harry, that the best way for her to have ensnared him was to offer him plenty of spicy poontang, but also to lavish upon him false compassion, to make him feel that he is loved, wanted, supported. And, of course, her narcissism seized upon the vulnerabilities that he has experienced as a consequence of the death of his mother, the turbulent relationship between his father and mother, and what has happened to him as a child, and to use that against him at first by seemingly causing her to care about him. But all narcissists use vulnerability against the victim where we can find it. It's what's known as the special traits. And if you want to understand more about those special traits, I'd encourage you to read my book, Sitting Target, which you'll find in the Knowledge Vault or on Amazon. Harry's wife's narcissism picked up on those damaged traits, those special traits, the damage that he's experienced, and utilized this by means of making it clear that she understood him, that she cared about him, that she recognized how it had impacted upon him, and he fell for it hook, line and sinker, because he felt that somebody truly understood him. The article continues. Bauer stresses that Harry was miserable as a senior royal, and Harry's wife offered a way out. The two bowed out of their royal duties in January 2020, less than 2 years after they wed in May 2018. I think he much more enjoyed paddling in the Pacific than shaking hands in the rain in a northern town in Britain, Bauer tells us, referencing the often unglamorous events the royal family undertakes yearly. Indeed, I'm pretty sure that if you asked any member of the royal family, that they would say, I'd much rather be paddling in the sun than I would be shaking hands with somebody in the rain. But of course, there are those that recognise the sense of duty. Harry, of course, susceptible to the overtures of Harry's wife, was pulled away, where she utilised the resentment, part of his narcissistic trait, with regard to his family. Bauer also believes that Queen Elizabeth II's recent death and funeral must have been particularly difficult for the renegade royal, which saw him barred from wearing his military uniform, saluting his grandmother's coffin, and uninvited from a pre-funeral reception. I think the funeral awakened some misery in him that he was so cut off from his family and friends, was an outsider, Bauer adds, and I think that puts great pressure on their relationship. A rep for Harry did not immediately return page 6 to request for comment on Bauer's remarks, and I suspect that they're not going to either. Harry is a damaged man, though the damage that he suffered makes him vulnerable to somebody like Harry's wife, that she corrupts his empathy. He does have it. And that she utilises this idea of, you and I are quite similar, and it's you and I against the world. And because he's not particularly intelligent, and because his need to be loved, because in essence his father never did, and his mother was too preoccupied with defending herself against the behaviours of his father, and then dealing with seeking love from various unsuitable men, so that in effect there was a degree of abandonment of Harry. And that means that when somebody comes along and offers him the love that he's always sought and craved, he runs towards it. Also, of course, bear in mind, he's been imprinted by the narcissism that he's experienced as a child, and although he doesn't realise it in Harry's wife, when along came the spider, his own addiction to narcissism caused him to run towards and embrace it with both hands. It feels like home, and he chases the storm as an adult that he experienced as a child, and Harry's wife's narcissism plays directly into that. It's the nature of their symbiotic relationship. But let's go below the line to see what people think about Tom Bauer's observations and remarks. Lily Marlene, not sure it's needy, but I always thought the constant hand-holding was more for show, to signal how special and perfect they are. That's correct, and that's done as facade management by Harry's wife. 40-year-olds posing as teenagers don't really come off that well for anyone. Linda, I saw all of this right from the beginning. She's very smart and knew how to manipulate him and their relationship right from the first date. Because of his weak and mentally fragile condition, he responded. Her problem was she thought she could manipulate the rest of the royal family the same way. Nope. Prince Philip, Charles and William saw what was happening. Harry rejected their warnings because she was at that time the answer to his problems. He's waking up now. Sadly, more problems are coming his way because with 2 children, he knows there is no easy way out of his situation. Sometime in the morning responds to that by stating, what I find terribly sad and even scary, the poor kids are likely to turn out just like them. They're not allowed to know either side of their family. They're going to grow up influenced only by their parents' behaviours, lies, scamming, etc. I know some don't believe the kids exist. I do believe they're real. Miami D. Undefined states, she didn't research him. His whole life was an open book, both his and his brother as well. She knew who he was and wanted to meet him and knew exactly how to play his heartstrings. She literally has used Diana's playbook for how to handle the media with claims of abuse and thoughts of suicide and loneliness. She got Harry to look at her as if her story was identical to his mother's story, and he was then able to be the knight in shining armour to save her from life in royalty or possible demise as Diana's. Again, his saviour traits coming to the fore there. Diana was a great, kind and generous woman who was hurt and humiliated by her husband's actions, but she also knew how to get her revenge on those she felt didn't stand by or help her. She could manipulate the media and the people like no other with those sad blue doe eyes, but she didn't come on the scene the way Harry's wife did. She came in humble and shy. Harry's wife came in entitled and demanding, and they lost all their staff because of her demands. Harry may have disliked being the spare and thought he wanted out of the life that he's only known, as many who thinks the grass is greener on the other side. I don't know, but the truth is the only value he has now, other than for charities for the short-term future, and in terms of making a living, is selling books about his former life and levelling accusations against his family. Knowing full well they can't even defend themselves without lowering themselves into the level he and his wife have sunken to. There's very good observations that have been stated there, which shows his susceptibility to this. Proud Southerner states, I maintain that it's the other way around and that she's holding on to him for dear life. I'm just so glad she's eschewed the leash and dog collar for use in public. KK, yes, I think it looks more like she's the insecure one, which isn't surprising since she's the one who was not raised as part of the social milieu that they're used to dealing with. Flavius Spaghettini. If all of this is true with the return to life as he once knew it, or but impossible, the allegedly paranoid Harry may eventually become a Howard Hughes type of recluse, one day churning out his own lengthy dissertations on how to open up a can of cling peaches. As his wife, Harry's wife should be encouraging Harry to seek professional help now, not greater notoriety amongst his family and countrymen come early 2023. Susie Mack, the truth hurts. It seems to me it is obvious Harry's wife has figured out all of Harry's weak spots and manipulated him to do exactly what she wants him to do. The only problem with that is he soon becomes just a thing to wind up and use. He's no longer a real man, so no longer her lover. Rocky Bird, lots of people suffer horrible childhoods full of physical abuse, neglect and poverty. It's hard to feel sorry for someone who grew up in absolute luxury with no real-life responsibilities, who is married to a TV star, lives in a luxurious house in California, drives Range Rovers, flies in private jets and has tens of millions of dollars in contracts with media producers. Amorphous, many people have more or less traumatic childhoods. It's unfortunate that Harry didn't get the psychological help he needs before he quit the royalty. I believe he will regret this in later years. Night's music. Elizabeth's death was the slap upside the head for Harry. He's either going to try to come back into the fold, evidenced by starting with wanting to tone down his book, etc., and with or without Harry's wife, though with Harry's wife in the picture it won't happen, or he'll end up with, like Edward and Wallace. That'll probably end up killing him, spirit-wise, and in future pictures. He'll just look as defeated as Edward always did. Some interesting observations from people seeing through the fact that Harry is damaged and where that comes from, and how that, of course, enables Harry's wife to control him in the way that she has. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.